What's going on, guys? T2RX6 here, back for a revisit of a Transformer. Well, not really a Transformer, but it's Transformers related merchandise. And as you know, this is the Gutto Kuru Minerva, and I just kind of wanted to retouch up on her because my opinion of her's changed a bit since I first got her. And actually, after doing some more research on some of this stuff. Now, this doesn't mean that I've gone from completely disliking it and think no one should really get it to, you know, this is a rave review. But my opinion is definitely improved. Gogdog of TFW 2005 did a great review online about why you should care about Gutto Kuru, and I think that really helped change my mind on this figure. The big thing is, when I approached this on the original review, which I've pulled offline for now, it's just hidden, I may bring it back, I don't know. But anyway, I approached it from what I know, and that's, you know, your figure arts here, and their posability. And that's kind of the wrong way to look at these characters, is, yes, she's a posable statue, you know, she's not one of those Mass Effect statues or anything, but looking at her specifically for articulation and what her arms can do, like a figure arts can, is not really what the Gutto Kuru toys are actually going for. They go for the awkward joint system that I talk about here in the previous review. Is really, it is awkward. It's very strange. You're never, if you haven't had one of these guys, you've probably never seen something like that. And it does allow the arm to pull out on strange angles like this. But what it does is, when the arm is extended like that, you get a more organic look because there's a piece that's filled in, because the ball joint is not right in the arm. You know, this type of thing, going back to a figure art here, you can see when you go up it looks fine, but you can kind of get these weird angles because of the way the shoulder articulation is here, that it can end up just looking a little bit strange, and, you know, the arm pad doesn't sit naturally. It has to flip up to accommodate it, whereas this arm pad, yes, it flipped up a little, but because of how the joint system works, it looks more natural like that if you were wearing the arm pad than your figure arts. And that's pretty cool once you start realizing that that's the intent of this. Is not, you know, it's not figure arts posability. Let's just start with that. You're not gonna get the posability you can get out of these figure arts toys here, but it's the more organic look. And once you understand that, you can start appreciating Minerva more, because when she's sitting on a shelf, you know, which is how you're gonna have her, she tends to look a little bit nicer when you want to, you know, pose her in some kind of happy pose, and the arms just look more convincing. Now, the hands here are still a problem because they're the small little pegs. Now, what I did though is I took a little bit of clear nail polish and I put that on, and since then, everything on this hand is much more secure. When I mess with her, things don't fall off. So that's a big improvement. One thing that struck me though after a while is just how visible the screws are. Now, granted, going back to my figure arts as an example, they are on this guy too, just that they're a lot harder to see there. So it is a little bit, at least noteworthy, to say that in certain positions the screws are completely visible. However, from the outside, you're not seeing a darn thing, which is pretty nice. The legs here, she should have better posability of her legs. The big problem is the way that this belt is molded, you really can't get much. But she does have a strange joint system inside the legs, which has a swivel and a tilt, which meets this tilting peg. And because of that, again, it works in that much more organic looking leg as it's, you know, being posed out to the sides and stuff. You have to make sure it's plugged in. Granted, you're not, again, getting a whole bunch of side-to-side motion. Figure art style, like that. Gutto Kuru, about there. So you can see, not a huge leg motion, but you know, at least when she's on the shelf, you know, doing something, it's gonna look a lot more natural just because it emulates a human body better. And I like that. Now, I had originally said there was no swivel to the knee. I was actually wrong. There is a swivel to the knee. It's actually located at the top. It's a little bit awkward to use because of how it's molded, but it is there and she can swivel her knee. So, and then you of course got the great, you know, chest and waist, torso joints there that give you some posability out of that. And again, just the way the joint system works, all the jointing is done inside, so it remains fairly natural looking regardless of what you do. The head, always still an issue, but what I figured out for mine online is that this little red piece that I had coming off, that I said didn't stay on at all for mine, that is not supposed to come off. That is supposed to stay in place. Mine was never given glue apparently because it did fall right off. I didn't have to pull it or anything to take it off the first time. So it is supposed to stay in place. When it stays in place now, we don't have the problem where her head's falling apart as easily. You can see how it all fits right into her hair here and into place. And then if you just want to switch the faces, you pick a new face, put it on, and replace the hair. New face. Now she does still have that tall neck joint, but you can still kind of push down on it and make it smaller, which looks way better. There's still the problem with, and it doesn't really show up very well on camera as far as I can see, that this piece of plastic is a different shade than this piece of plastic. Now originally I thought it might be because of the clear transparent and maybe it was painted, but the clear piece is actually glued into place there. So this, I don't understand why it was molded out of a different color than this. And that's a little strange. The color is, you know, off. But whatever, it's good. I find myself really enjoying this Minerva a lot more than I was originally thought I was going to. So, to put her helmet back on, again we take out this little extra piece they gave us that just fills in the helmet while she's holding it. And you slide this in place. And now that my red piece actually stays in place, her helmet stays in place really nicely. We can take whatever face we want. We can plug it on in. And then replace her helmet here. And Minerva's looking good. The helmet's sitting at the right height. It's not wobbly at all. Big improvement when the red piece is actually doing what it's supposed to. Now, I know we have the Headmaster gimmick, and we talked about that once before, but I want to talk about the one thing that I do think is weird. It's probably a nitpick because you do have the Headmaster backpack. When you have no backpack on, her hair looks very, very strange. It's quite clearly designed so it can fit around the Headmaster gimmick, but without it, there's nothing there. And I don't know, I don't like that. She's probably never going to be displayed without the Headmaster, so it is definitely a nitpick. And again, I showed you it before, but in case you're tuning into Minerva for the first time, there's the Headmaster. Very nice. They didn't have to do that at all. And it really, you know, hit me when I was watching Gog's review about how this figure works when I was thinking about my DBZ figure arts. It's just like when you get some of these weird positions, you get the very strange, you know, gap between leg and the crotch area. In fact, to get some of these positions, it just looks very strange, which is the whole purpose of that very peculiar joint system. So I was much more impressed with Minerva after I learned some of this stuff, just dealing with some of these other toys out there. She's still not the most posable. You're not gonna get figure arts level of posability out of her, so keep that in mind. Now I never hit on the stand. It's huge. She doesn't need the stand. She's rock solid. But it is worth noting that the stand is pretty awesome because it has a sliding thing, so it can slide on here, and you can just basically position the top of the stand in different ways, and you have 4 joints to mess with the position. So it's pretty awesome that they at least gave us a stand, even though we really don't need it. So overall, Minerva is one of those toys that, if you are a big fan of the character, I think she's worth owning. If you are not a fan of Minerva, she's very expensive, and I don't know if I could necessarily recommend her. If you're gonna approach her from Figuarts point of view, you're probably gonna be disappointed at first, but once you start messing with the joint system and just seeing how just organic and great looking she looks in almost every single pose, you're gonna have a better appreciation for her like I did. So this is T2RX6, and I am much happier now with my purchase of Minerva after learning about what Gutto Kuru was trying to do with her, and I just wanted to revisit that. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.